Hi everyone, I'm Alinari, Head of Sales at Agora. Thanks for joining us today at RTE 2021. So we are very excited to kick off this panel discussion, Revolutionizing Gamer Interaction. So today's session will be moderated by Sid Sharma, Senior Director of Developer Relations and Partner Engineering at Agora. So prior to Agora, Sid helped Nexmo increase API calls by 350% and worked at Coding Game, where he helped grow the developer community by 3.5x to over 900,000. So Sid, it's great to have you here. So also we invite you to add your questions under the questions tab to the right of the screen, and we'll get to them at the end of the session. So Sid, I'll let you introduce our amazing speakers. The floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ali. It's great to be here today, everybody. We're going to be talking about revolutionizing gamer interaction. This is a personal favorite topic of mine. I'm an avid gamer and love to talk anything gaming. So if you're interested in chatting more after the panel, feel free to reach out via chat or email. So today I'm going to be joined by Alana Kalin, this co-founder and CEO of Kabeza. Also joined by Clarence Pereira, the senior game producer of Gametion, which has one of the most popular games in the world, Ludo King. I'm also an avid fanatic of that game myself. And then lastly, we'll be joined by Piyush Kumar, the founder and CEO of Router.io. So thanks everybody for joining, and let's get started. How's everyone doing?
Great. How are you doing, Sid?
Doing fantastic. Thanks for joining me. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So, do you mind before we dive deep into the topics? Let's go ahead and introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit more about what your company does and what they offer.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's get started. Alana, you want to kick us off?
Sure. So I
can
founded
still not.
Kabeza, and we have a platform that launches live trivia games. And so our platform makes it really easy to build and launch your own customized live trivia games, which generate about 15 minutes on average of undivided attention. While Piyush figures out his sound, I'll throw it over to Clarence.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Clarence Pereira, and I've been in the gaming industry for over 16 years now. I'm the senior producer at Gametion Technologies, and I'm handling products and business altogether. About a little bit about Gametion, I think Gametion was established in 2010 by Vikas Jaiswal. So initially, the company was focusing on online flash gaming, and later in 2013, he pivoted and started building mobile games. He built about 20 odd games, and which did good business for the company. But later in 2016, he had a with the release of Ludo King. This game went super viral after his launch itself, and game actually did about 50 million installs in just probably less than a year. Today, Ludo King is one of the first games from an Indian developer to have crossed 500 million downloads just on Google Play Store. So that's a little brief about our company as well. So Piyush, over to you.
Hey, Clarence. I just checking if I'm audible. All good from my end. Perfect. Perfect.
Yep.
Okay, great. Good to meet all of you. My name is Piyush. I'm the founder and CEO of Router. We are India's biggest game streaming platform at this stage. India is undergoing a great movement as far as gaming is concerned, as Clarence briefly touched upon how different segments of games are growing. And what we have also seen particularly grow is the first-person shooter category, where PUBG got up to almost 200 million downloads. They have relaunched as a BGMI, got more than 50 million downloads within 2 months. Free Fire is doing very well over there, and so are all the other first-person shooter games. What Router has done is over the last 18 months, we have created a game streaming platform for mobile gaming, which allows each and every gamer to create their gaming content and to become a streamer. And at the same time, we are also hosting multiple esports tournaments. We are creating multiple gaming IPs, and also, inviting all the other esports tournaments to host their content on Router so as to reach to a larger audience. So we are in the middle of a very interesting phase in India where mobile gaming is likely to take over pretty much a large part of the entertainment, and I'm quite happy to be here to discuss our learnings with the rest of you and also learn about game industry in general.
Yeah, fantastic to have you all interesting backgrounds, and we'll dive a little bit deeper into, some of the, issues and some of the hardships that you had to deal with in such a competitive industry. And I'm sure the audience is very curious to hear more about your learnings throughout the years of experience that you have in the gaming industry.
Still can't
So-
hear Sid.
Let's keep on going. Let's maybe talk about what is your favorite part about working in the gaming industry. Alana?
Yeah, so I see everything as a game. It kind of happened a little by accident. So prior to founding Database, I was working at an augmented reality platform called Blipper, actually with a handful of amazing Agora employees like Hermes and Max Cobb. And so much of what we did was create games. And there were, the goal from our customers was to have meaningful interactions with their audience, whether that was their consumers, their employees, whatever. And so often the best way to do that was to create a game. So we were constantly coming up with ideas and looking at the patterns of what was coming, how much work was involved to build these games. When we started working on Kabeza, it was really, how do we create that kind of excitement and interaction in a way that's easier and more scalable. So I think, one of my favorite things is not only is it fun and extremely, brings a lot of excitement, it's super measurable. You can show the ROI on what it would cost to generate that kind of engagement and intention from an audience on anything else, whether that's digital media, what have you, versus launching this live game, and it's super powerful. So I love it because everyone gets to participate too.
Definitely, and not to mention all the happiness and good moments you bring with friends, colleagues, families, and so on. So I'm sure that's a highlight as well. What about Clarence or Piyush? Anything to add there, or about why you love working in the gaming industry?
Piyush, you want to go first?
Clarence, I couldn't hear his question. I'm facing a bit of an issue, but if you could tell me the question, I'm happy to go first.
Yeah, it was, what are you enjoying most while you are in the gaming industry?
Okay, perfect. So at this stage, for us, the most interesting part is how a large part of Indian population is adopting to gaming in India. Gaming is cutting through all strata of the society, right from students who are picking it up right after their school classes, etc., going up to adults picking up different games, and that actually gives a very interesting perspective to the overall market on how gaming would sort of grow in the future. So that's one part, that we are able to interact with a much larger and wide base of audience. Secondly, we are actually in the middle of a market which is being built on mobile games. What's interesting about it is that it doesn't require too much of a tech setup. It doesn't require you to gather too many gadgets. All you should do is get a headphone and a phone, and you can start playing and eventually also streaming the game. So using our streaming technology that we have built with the help of Agora, what we want to do is we want to make streaming as easy as uploading a picture on, say, Instagram, right? Which is the reason that about 17% of our people who download the app end up streaming. That's a very enjoyable experience. I mean, we are getting close to 1 million people in a month already who are trying to stream content. So that's the second part. And the third and the last part is that it's amazing how everybody around is supporting careers in gaming now. We get emails and we get approached by multiple different set of parents who want their 12-year-old or 14-year-old to pick up streaming as a career, And we have a lot of these kids who are doing quite an amazing work. It's not necessarily that they're picking it up as a job, but for them to pick it up as a career much early is quite exciting. So these are three things we are really excited about, and let's see how it goes. It's still just 1.5 years into it.
Definitely. I mean, I remember growing up, my parents would tell me not to play video games, and I've been playing way too many video games. So it's great to see, there's actually some monetary value and some career progressions that are emerging because of the gaming market, which is fantastic to see for me as a gamer, and hopefully, more careers and more opportunities to come. Clarence, anything to add on that part in terms of what's your favorite thing about working in the gaming industry?
Yeah, sure. I myself was an gaming enthusiast, and I was too addicted with games. And all day and night I used to be super, so superly utilized into just playing games all day in, day out. Counter Strike, be it Age of Empires, or you call all sort of games, and totally into it. But I think the best thing today that is happened to me is I think I'm able to probably live up my passion, and yeah, so that's the most interesting thing about for me in working in the gaming industry.
Definitely, I can certainly relate. As I mentioned, I'm an avid gamer. I think everybody knows that by now. But that's what I love working at Agora for. Is I get to interact with a lot of folks like yourselves, who are the pioneers in the gaming industry. So it's awesome for you to join us and also share the wealth of knowledge that you guys have collected over the years with all of our attendees as well. So. Changing gears a little bit, I think I look at gaming platforms and games in general. I think some. Okay, there it is. I look at gaming platforms and games, as the new breed of social media, right? It's much more of a synchronous social media, in my opinion, compared to the traditional social media websites, which is very, I guess, reactive as well as asynchronous. So changing gears to the real-time engagement perspective of the gaming world, why did you guys decide to enable gamer interaction directly into your apps, as well as why not go to a third-party standalone app? There's a few out there, Discord, for example. What was the reasoning that you guys had in mind when adopting this and embedding this directly into your games and apps?
So I'm gonna kind of respond to that also by answering Michael's question. I think there's such a difference between being able to interact with somebody live that is participating versus posting something, have people react to it later. I think what social media currently offers isn't how real life works. There's this video out there called LinkedIn in Real Life, and it's hilarious because it makes no sense. When you see these things play out in a physical space, it makes no sense. But when you have real-time engagement, that mimics how, or it's closer to how we actually interact with people. You can respond, and I think in all of our cases, you're actually doing something. So my problem with social media and even like Zoom happy hours, yes, it's real time, but like there's nothing to do. When you are actually in a room with other people, you're eating, you're playing a game, you're interacting, or you're doing something else other than just staring at little boxes. And so when you add a game to it, you give people something to rally around, and you give them the ability to actually interact with each other, which is super powerful. And for us, what social media platforms offered it wasn't enough. It wasn't what we wanted to do. The gaming capabilities are, I think the term itself is used quite loosely, but to me, it wasn't a real game. It was just a widget. And so actually being able to combine those two with the live video, the live stream, the chat interaction, is super powerful in ways like, so for a watch party, rather than just have everybody stare at each other as they stare at the TV, give them something to do. Like, for example, answer trivia questions.
Yep. Exactly. And it's much more of an authentic interaction rather than like the example that you gave, right? You jump into a video conferencing call and, it's quote unquote happy hour, but it's like the conversation seems a lot more forced rather than something that's authentic that you connect over. So totally get it. Yeah. Cool. Clarence or Piyush, anything else to add?
Okay, I think I'd like to add something very interesting. Uh, I think to be very true to, we never planned that we wanted to, probably put out a voice chat, something that would have been a part of Ludo as a game. Since from my childhood, the games that I have been playing, or the games that I have been seeing, the voice chat function probably resonates more with games like Counter Strike, where you're actually helping your buddy or your team member, or you're guiding your team members and so on, right? Which becomes more relevant, right? But I think we all are surprised too. But uh, we I'm just going to step back and just give you a gist of how this all came up. And there's a very interesting story that has happened. So we had Gametion. Firstly, we focus a lot on how the players give us feedback, and that's something that we take very, very very closely, and we attend it very personally as well. So we have been keeping records of players who have been very interesting, and wanting to have been wanting for such kind of features, right? But nonetheless, this is not the okay, and nonetheless, and that's not the only thing. There have been other instances as well. Like, now, this is a very crazy instance that I'm going to talk about, and this is something that I've personally done myself as well. So, sorry, are you guys able to hear me, right?
Yeah, I think you
Okay.
muted yourself.
Something
Actually.
happened, and
You're
I was
good now.
just, yeah. Okay. So there has been some interesting things happening. So we have seen that players are creating WhatsApp groups. Okay, getting on a call on WhatsApp, and at the same time starting a Ludo King match. And that is something that I was amazed. And nonetheless, most of us are we've seen that players have been doing this quite often. So we just thought that why not give the power to the players. It's like more of let the gaming get become a platform where they can chat, speak to each other, and make friends, or probably have a good gaming time with friends or family and so on, right? So I think it's more that it just happened to us. This was something that was on our list, sort of, but it's just that I think the pandemic actually pushed us to speed up things on our side, and finally we were out there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the pandemic sparked it. Like definitely sparked a lot of social gaming uptake in terms of how many people are on these platforms, playing on these platforms, session times. We've seen all the data, and it's going to be interesting to see post pandemic, post lockdown. What are the effects? I mean, I think we've already seen a few waves. Some lockdowns were removed and then reinstated, but even throughout, there was not much of a decline in the gaming market in terms of users. So this may be a trend to stay, in my opinion, especially. And I'm curious to hear more about what your guys' perception is, and how did the pandemic fuel your growth, as well as what you see in the later stages of the pandemic. So
Piyush,
Alana,
could you hear
Yeah,
that question?
yeah, I can take that question. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. No, so pandemic, for us was honestly, we were not into game streaming initially. We used to do sports UGC streaming, which meant we were allowed a lot of sports fans to go online, do sports commentary, share their fantasy team and everything. These were the use cases that we actually started to build with Agora initially. But what happened is we were looking at a gaming market from outside, and we were quite keen to get into the gaming content industry, build our own streaming services, which actually got triggered by the pandemic. So, I mean, what happened is we realized sports is not gonna be there forever, and therefore, for a very long time, sports will pause and it will go in some regular intervals. So why don't we try gaming? So how pandemic helped us is that it allowed us to facilitate our game streaming launch and allowed us to build a community much faster. Also, we don't actually attribute the entire growth that Router has seen over the last 1.5 years to pandemic. However, we do believe that a lot of habits that people have picked up in pandemic, which is to play the games later in the night or to interact with a certain community through our app or through different platforms, is a great sort of a habit that will sustain even beyond pandemic. So I sincerely believe that there are few changes in our life which has been triggered by pandemic, which doesn't just include gaming in general that we look at, which would continue to stay with us for much longer. And I think game streaming and the way people interact with the gaming community would be perhaps one of those bigger ones.
Yeah, definitely, 100% agree. So I think really the question that everyone asks, I think all four of us have heard it, is when are we going back to normal, right? I think everyone's waiting to be normal again, life to be normal again. But I truly don't think there is going to be a normal life like the life that we knew. I think everything is going to be much more geared online, much more geared even to hybrid experiences, whether that's gaming, events, you name it. It's I think the fundamental human behavior has shifted throughout these months and almost actually over a year. So that's going to be something hard to reverse psychologically wise. So yeah, definitely agree with you there. Alana and Clarence, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think for us, it really changed the way people saw us as a partner. Before it was, okay, here's a digital offering, and later it shifted to, okay, we need to figure out how we connect with people in this new world, because we can no longer do these live in-person events. And so, it went from a nice to have to more of a need to have. And I think especially as you said, with what is the new normal, like when is it going to come back? Like it's never going to. I mean, even when in-person conferences return, there will always be a virtual offering, because why not? Why not? Same thing with concerts. Before it was, okay, it's exclusive, you have to be there in person, and now it's, okay, for the people who can be there in person, wonderful. For everyone else, here's a live stream. And obviously it's a different experience, but so for us, I think it was helpful, and we learned a ton too, because we explored different ways that the games could add value, from marketing to training to events, internal communications, and we're really figuring out and learning where it can be most valuable, because those are all areas where people are really struggling to connect with others.
100% agree. 100% agree. I think you nailed it. I think it's even if you look at workplace, right? Companies like Apple are saying that they don't want people to work remotely because it risks the culture, right? But with apps like yourselves and platforms like yourselves, that can be bridged tremendously, right? You have your happy hour, going back to that reference, right? You have your happy hour on Kabeza, and you get to chat with your friends and colleagues and be able to play together, interact together, and have those team building events together, right? Whether that's a gaming event or anything else. So I definitely think that this trend is here to stay. And we haven't really cracked the perfect synergy between the two, the in-person experience versus the virtual experience, and how to make that a truly hybrid experience. And I think, like you said, everyone in this industry is learning more and more, and I'm very sure we'll get there. It's nothing's going to change after such a severe event has occurred. It's the world has changed forever. Clarence, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think just one thing though, uh, for Ludo King, I think it was kind of a game changer. Um, of course, since the time of release, of course, the game has been performing very well in terms of the daily active users and everything. But right when the pandemic hit us, right, I think our servers actually got overwhelmed with so many users. We actually saw about 51 million daily active users at the peak of a lockdown,
Wow.
and we were like, my God, the first 7 to 8 days, we were like crazy trying to fix our servers to be able to take more than a million and a half concurrent users. And I really remember those days. And then even still now, there have been situations wherein as said, you did say, right, and then everybody understands this, that uh, uh, this pandemic getting going off is not going to be very soon as such, right? So phases are going to be there. Now there is going to be a phase 3 as well, and so on, right? So I think these are all going to be spikes for us, from a business point of view. But yes, it's a most difficult time for some others as well.
Definitely, yeah, and I think again, going back to the point, is these games, these platforms that you guys are providing are helping bridging that gap, right? It is a struggle being away from your family, your friends. I personally was struggling in the pandemic myself, especially during the peak. But I think that those interactions that you have online and are able to converse as nothing has really happened, and engage with each other online, definitely helps. So completely agree. So in relation to the real-time aspect of your guys' apps, have you guys seen any trends in terms of, user analytics, right? After adding RTE, has your DAU, MAU, peak concurrent user, or, user session time, have you seen any increases or decreases, or what are the user behaviors, especially with the user groups who are using the RTE functionality within your apps?
For us, it's really simple. The games that include video and voice are 4 times longer than the ones without. And you either it's trivia, so you either just go through the questions and answer them, or there's a human there. And very few of our games actually launch without them, but having the person, the host, the real-time interaction is what makes it human and different than just answering. There's hundreds of trivia games, questions, platforms out there. And the reason that this is special is because other people are there at the same time. It's like being at a party where you can actually interact with the host. And it's like, yeah, like Jeopardy, where you can talk to Alex Trebek. We're bringing back. It makes it a very, very different experience. So we actually built the ability to launch without a host afterwards. Simply because if people wanted to launch it on top of Zoom or something like that, then they could. But I much prefer it as it is altogether, as we built it with Agora.
Awesome, great to hear. Well, 4x longer session times, that speaks for itself. So great for you to share that. Clarence or Piyush, anything else to add?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to share a data that one of the data that we were actually looking to improve was with more and more interactivity that we built during the live video streamings. We wanted to see how the time spent on live streams can increase, and it actually increased from almost 8.5 minutes towards the end of last year to now almost 26.5 minutes. So that's changed quite a lot, because we have tried to make the entire live streaming watching experience much more social by bringing in many features which allows people to build that community and to interact. So that's one metric which has really, really improved. The other metric is, of course, the fact that I keep saying this, that one of our biggest strengths is that we are making more and more people become streamers. So the fact that we were able to build much simpler streaming tools allows almost 17% people who download Router to become streamers or to stream a content. This is quite a big number. I mean, almost 1 million people are creating some content on Router using all the features that we have built with Agora. So, yeah, I mean, multiple other features which are helping us, but it's very important that, from a product perspective, we focus on the engagement as a very key aspect of how product design happens. And that's something that perhaps has worked for us.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, I'm again, I think this is the third or fourth time I said it, but I'm an avid gamer, and I obviously watch a lot of Twitch, and the issue with esports today, that I saw before, Router came along was, it was not social, and gaming at its core has always been social, right? Back in the day, LAN parties, chilling in the basement with your friends. Now it's online gaming, but that interaction has not carried over to the esports world. It's fantastic to see that you guys are doing something about it. And 17% of all signups or basically becoming streamers, that is fantastic to see. It's clear because it's all because of the interactivity, which is fantastic. Clarence, anything else to add on your end?
Oh, definitely. As I said, right, we were slightly late on, entering the voice chat segment. So last year during the pandemic hit, right, that's when we started planning the voice chat integration within our game. And by July end, somewhere in July end, we actually went live with this feature. So this has actually resulted in about 15% increase in our total number of matches that are played in Play with Friends game mode, and that's if you make it by a million, so that number is pretty huge for us. So on an overall level, there has been a very good increase in our session time or our retention, and especially the revenue as well.
Awesome, great to hear. Yeah, that's I mean, I play Ludo King all the time, so I'm one of those users, so I can totally agree. It makes the game much more interesting when you're playing with your friends or cousins. So yeah, definitely agree with you there. Cool. So the gaming industry in general, is super competitive. I don't think anyone will disagree with that. That 90-day retention mark is probably the most scary figure you're going to be looking at in the first few days of your launch. How do you guys continue to keep your users engaged? How much does RTE have a role to play in that? And besides RTE, what are some of the things that you explore as a company to continue innovating and continue to keeping those users engaged?
Should I go first?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. No, it's a very interesting question. In fact, one of the key things that anybody needs to solve in any market is how do you solve a long-term retention, because it not only leads to more active number of users, it also allows you to monetize people over a longer period of time, which is where LTV is very high. So we looked at it from two perspectives. One is that we continue to work on our month one retention, which is to bring in much more premium content, create more number of people who are creating content, etc. But the tougher and the more long-term sort of a perspective is how do you make your month 2 to month 6 retention good, right? And for us, we used a very simple technique. We were very inspired by the way, for example, an app like Duolingo cracked retention, which is that they gamified the entire experience of learning a language, right? They made that daily streak, monthly streak, weekly streak so sexy, I would say, that people actually wanted to just go back and do that, and they made the entire experience pretty gamified. What we did on Router is something very similar. What we introduced very early in our journey was something called Router Coins, which basically is something that anybody can earn by either creating or consuming gaming content. And as you earn more coins, as you earn more streak, you keep adding these coins, which you can redeem for gaming coupons, right? So that basically created a very strong habit in people to create as well as consume content, and it allowed us to increase their lifetime on our app, which eventually allowed us to now monetize. I mean, our monetization is 2x in August as compared to July. I mean, at a small scale, that is. But the point here is that gamification of content and the fact that we decided to pay back to our users for the time they are spending on our app really helped us build a strong retention.
Totally makes sense. And definitely builds a large sense of brand loyalty that way as well. So that's fantastic to see. It's a great idea. So any emerging platforms out there, you should be taking notes here. Clarence or Alana, anything else to add?
Yeah, our focus initially was on B2B to C. So much we were recommending to our partners in terms of how to keep people engaged, but we kind of could bring them to the water but not force them to drink it. I think we have a lot to learn from Rooter and Piyush and how to launch with user-generated content. If we give the power to everyone to launch their own games, like who knows where that will go, given there's so many highly passionate people. And that's what we're working towards in the short-term future, to not just license what we've built for companies, clients, brands, but for creators and users to empower their audiences, because that's something we hear a lot from Twitch. It's okay, great, we can go live, people can watch us, but there isn't quite enough to offer to their audiences. So we're really excited to do that and copy Piyush to make sure they stay there once they're on.
Definitely, definitely. Well, glad you're getting some insights from this as well. I certainly am. So, Clarence, what about yourself?
Yeah, I think from a gaming aspect, right, uh, which I've been doing this for years and down the line. So having a 90-day mark, I think is one of the most toughest things to say that yes, we can have a good retention number as such. But truly, it's like a player once it has crossed about a 30-day mark, right? It is naturally that this player would have loved the core game loop of your game, and that's why it is he's going to be stuck with the game, and it's going to go on. But nonetheless, what as developers we would have to confirm, like focus on is the features that he's going to unlock, okay, past those for a longer term, right, which is going to give him a much more challenging experience, is what is going to keep him going on and on. And nonetheless, right, we as developers want to focus on words like win, or on a challenging victory, and that's what the players are here for, right? And especially additionally being having the multiplayer gaming, right? uh, Playing with a real opponent is something that is natural, right? That's what the players want to play with. So overall, if I see that from a real-time engagement aspect also, right, for us, the voice chat has really done well for us. As you said, right, Sid, you yourself play our game, so I do understand that there would be times that you would have set with your family and friends, probably once in a week, or probably daily as well, one match, and you're catching up with your friends and having a good time as well. So on an overall level, yes, RT is adding a good value for a long term retention.
100%, 100%. As I mentioned earlier, right? I look at gaming platforms that do have RTE enabled, directly inside them, right? Games, streaming platforms, or games themselves. I look at them as the new breed of social media, and I can tell you from a personal level, all my family in India, for example, used to always call me on WhatsApp, and now it's like, let's jump on Ludo and have have a quick catch up and play a game and be able to enjoy our time together and almost catch up on a regular daily basis. Whereas, I would only, be able to pick up their calls once a week on WhatsApp, but this seems much more natural, unforced. So completely agree with you there. Cool. So I think we have, one more question before we can open it up to the audience questions. But what would you say to, the game developers, game producers out there that are looking to add RTE and are potentially, worried about the cost that it adds, or the, level of, I guess, difficulty to embed it, and, some of the struggles that come along with it? What would you tell them to take the leap of faith, as it seemed to bode well in terms of results for all of your platforms?
Okay, so maybe I can just go first. Until integrating voice chat in Ludo King, I personally never felt that voice chat could have been really thought up in terms of getting absorbed in genres that are probably outside of action, or where actually the fun lies, where you have to the whole fun lies where you have to communicate with your teammates and so on, right? But I think with what we have been able to achieve, I think it's far more different, and that's something that has we've not been able to even imagine this kind of achievement from that aspect. So I think it makes definitely sense for someone to even go outside and think out of the box and see if this fixes well with your games. Nonetheless, in terms of of course, as developers, as a producer, I have definitely looked into multiple aspects when it comes to quality of the voice chat that you are wanting to integrate. You have to look at where your user base is going to be in, and where are your servers are going to be hosted, and most importantly, as I said, right, the quality of the clarity of sound is I think the best thing that needs to be up to mark, right? And that's why I believe we are now with we are with Agora. So I think hands down we are pretty happy with the quality. So I think yeah, that's about it.
Awesome. Good to hear. Good to hear. Appreciate that. Alana, Piyush, anything else to add?
Yeah, I'm not a developer, so I can't speak to the ease, but I do know that the Agora team was extremely helpful as the team was swapping live stream partners, and it's invaluable to our platform. The nice thing about working with you guys is that you worry about the quality. Obviously, we have to implement it and put the right permissions in place, but it's a trusted partner to help us worry about the rest. Building the game, running the game, making it easy to launch, and for the hosts to run them. But the video and the streaming itself, I mean, it's like I said before, it made our retention time or the overall game time 4 times longer, which is invaluable. And because it is so close to real time, there's no delay. It means people can interact that much faster, and yeah, for the live trivia, which moves really fast to begin with. It makes a huge difference, and I think uh, because of the ability to drop it in, I mean, assuming it adds value to your goals, there's absolutely no reason not to include it.
Yeah, completely.
And I think, oops, sorry. I think users will. I'm double again for some reason now.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Okay,
I think Piyush
but
is-
I think people now expect it. They don't want to just watch from afar, spectate, or play in their own vortex. They want to be a part of an experience that includes others, and I don't know how else you can do that without real time voice and video.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think you nailed it, right? We strive to focus on the audio and video quality, and allow app developers, game developers to go ahead and focus on experiences that really differentiates you from the rest, right? And not have to worry about anything on the server side or anything like that. So totally agree with you there.
Yeah. Do you want me to make can I make a point here?
Yeah, definitely. Please do.
Okay. So I like to say two things here. One, the fact that I think from a game, I mean, we are not a game developer. We are the people who are creating an environment around games. We would rather want to be one of the biggest game publishers as we grow, and to help more and more game developers reach out to a large audience. But the only advice I'd give is that the world has completely changed from a game that people used to play alone or a single player game to a very community led game. So whenever you're thinking game, please think community. People don't no longer want to do things alone. So try and see. I mean, if Ludo, the reason Ludo is such a huge success in India and all across the world, because it brings families, friends, everybody put together, and we used to play so much during the lockdown, and it was literally a habit for us, right? Similarly, I think most of the games which are now successful in market like India are very community led. The second thing on the RTE feature I would say is that a lot of times I see companies thinking about such engagement features much later in their journey. For us in India, what really worked is the team of Agora in India were very, very helpful. When we were a very young company back in 2017, they started to engage with us. We did some MVPs in 2017 that didn't work. We again did something in 2018 that worked, but we couldn't, take it forward. 2019, it worked for us in a different use case, which is sports. And finally, in 2020, we could scale it with game streaming. So it took 3-4 years for both the tech team as well as the team at Agora to arrive at a certain thing. And therefore, the reason we were able to pivot and grow much faster because we built the relationship over a certain period of time. for which I'm quite thankful to everybody in Agora, particularly the Indian team led by Ranga.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, and we're here to help. So any folks out there who are interested in learning more about how Agora can help embed a real-time interactions, real-time engagement inside your applications and games, please do reach out. We'll be here all day. Clarence, Piyush, Alana will also be here. So feel free to reach out to them. I already see there's a lot of interest in people wanting to play your games, or embed the trivia platform into their apps, or potentially I also see somebody is looking to stream on Router. So I think you have some connections who are looking to chat with you guys. So let's go ahead and invite Ali to the stage. Ali's our host today, so he'll be conducting the Q&A session. Ali?
Hey everyone. Thank you very much, Sid. Thank you to our speakers. It was a very good and interesting session. So we do have many questions. So I would like to invite Mike Williams on stage, if he's happy to do so. If you can raise your hand, so we can have you on stage. So I can see you have many questions for us. So you need to raise your hand on the platform.
He's asking, how do I do that? Top left.
Okay.
I don't see how to do that either. I was just looking to help.
Okay, so I'll
Yeah,
start.
I think it's an attendee functionality.
Yeah, while we wait for him to join, he joins, so I can start, asking his questions.
Definitely.
So regarding online games, they are already very engaging. How do we make them more engaging?
Online games how do we make them more engaging? Yeah, good question.
I'll speak for us. We've done so many experiments, not experiments, so many different kinds of games, and it really makes a difference. The content, the quality of the host. You could choose a bunch of random trivia questions from a list online, or you could thoughtfully write them for your audience. And the difference between those two is quite large. And as with anything, the content and the delivery really matters. We can dress it up and we can make it look exciting because it's colorful and the buttons are there and there's a timer and all of those things, but that's never fully going to compensate for a talented host and interesting content. If you're super boring, putting you in the middle of a trivia circle with sound effects isn't necessarily going to fix that. So I think rather than necessarily more features and bells and whistles, it's thinking about just thoughtfully about how and what. Yeah, I think there are certain things that technology just can't compensate for, and on our end, it's empowering and setting people up for success. And best practices to make sure that when they do go live, it's as fun as it can possibly be.
Thank you very much, Alana. So I'll go ahead with another question for Router this time. So Prudviraj Bosal is asking, how can we monetize on Router?
Sure. Yeah, so I think on Router, what we have done is we have created multiple monetization opportunities for streamers. What we do is we run a very strong streamer program under which once you complete 50 hours of streaming, you can join that program, and our community team will help you on board as a streamer. They will help you gain your followers, go online, create a certain kind of a content. And if you go on our Android app, on the hamburger menu, you'll see a tab called Monetization Journey. You click on that, and we have pretty much laid down the entire process of how you can become a streamer and how you can cross different milestones to do it. So that's one way. Happy to share that as of August 2021, uh, out of whatever 900,000 people who create content on Router, we are enabling around 4.3% of those to make money through Router, right? So we truly believe in democratizing the entire streaming experience, which means that we want to create more and more streamers who are getting paid for the content that they're creating. So that's one. Secondly, we have also enabled streamer gifting, which means the super chat feature that you see on different platforms. Now on Router also, a lot of users are buying Router diamonds that they can gift to their favorite streamers. So it's all on streamers on how they can engage their audience and sort of get gifted by these diamonds, which can eventually be converted into maybe a cash or a gaming voucher or something later on. So these are still early days for us, but as I said, we are quite close to ensuring 5% of people who create content on Router are already monetizing their content, and the idea is to take it to 10% maybe by end of this year.
That's fantastic. You guys are enabling brand new creator economy and showing the power of the community as well through the virtual tipping and gifting. So fantastic to see that.
Thank you very much, Piyush. So I have another question from Tom DiPietropolo. So how do you tackle accessibility when it comes to real-time gamer interaction? So how do you tackle accessibility when it comes to real-time gamer interaction?
Yeah, I can take a stab at that. I mean, I think we have a lot of gaming customers who, are looking for something like speech to text, right? With all the accessibility, with all the accessibility rules, and rightfully so. We have a number of partners who do, speech to text APIs transcription, and that helps quite a bit, especially with some of the laws and restrictions around that. We've recently launched the extension marketplace. So now, game developers, any app developer can go ahead and enable transcription with just 2 clicks and 2 lines of code. So no need to access any raw audio or raw video data. You can just directly send that, it'll automatically send that to the vendor and return back the text format of the speech. So anyone interested in trying that out in terms of accessibility features, feel free to try out the transcription libraries that we offer through the extension marketplace. And you can find Symbol and Mars View on the extension marketplace.
Thank you very much, Sid. So I go to the next question. So Justin Magulo, do you expect a shift away from 100 or even 1,000 strong rooms of fans towards a more small-scale style of streaming and watch party? So do we expect a shift from very large sessions, very large rooms, to smaller room sessions?
Yeah. Should I take this? Or Alana, you want to go?
Sure. You go ahead.
Okay, perfect. No, I think watch parties are becoming a very interesting way in which content distribution will happen. In fact, for us, we are working quite a lot on creating technology that can distribute the content these streamers are making into different formats. Like we are working with quite a few TikTok kind of apps in India which provide the content on vertical format and for that matter on many other ones. And therefore, the core idea here is that how can we enable our streamers to reach out to a far bigger audience outside of Router, right? Which are new audience for them, which necessarily probably don't know about streaming or may not even know about how gaming content works, and therefore you kind of build that ecosystem. What we surely believe is that having a large group of loyal or retained users on any streaming app like a Router definitely helps in a far bigger community to be built. But at the same time, enabling watch parties where different influencers can take this content and create another content on top of it can definitely increase the reach much more. The larger point I'm making is that we all need to build technology that can ensure a much stronger distribution of content that gamers are creating, but at the same time, attributing those numbers back to those streamers, so that you don't lose, or you don't let people sort of get away with the content sharing, and at the same time ensuring they are monetized, which is that every content that gets distributed pays back the streamer in some or the other way. So we are working on multiple such discussions, multiple such and certain partnerships are happening, and we strongly believe that watch parties for streaming would come up as a great way for not just for the streamers who are building the real content, but also for a lot of people who are upcoming.
That's very interesting. Thank you very much, Piyush, for this answer. On the last one, I believe, is from Hermes, from Agora. So when building games with real-time interactions, so if games are 4 times as long, how much of the audience participates along with the broadcast? It's a long question, so I hope it's clear.
I guess that would depend how you define participate. So in our example, you can participate in a few ways. One is by answering questions, and the other is by writing in the chat. So pretty much everyone, I'd say, over all of our games, it's about 98% of players are actually participating in the game by answering questions, and around it'll really depend on the type of audience, but it'll range from about 20% to 60% of people that will write in the chat as well. And kind of related to the previous question, which is, is this a game with thousands of people, hundreds of people, or dozens? And it makes a difference. If what we found too is when audiences know each other, there's a ton of interaction in the chat. Also, if there's big audiences, it feels like a ton, even though it might be a smaller percentage overall that are writing in the chat. It'll be interesting. There's a game today at 4 p.m. PT on Kabeza that Agora is hosting. So if you want to see what it looks like live, please come and join. It'll be fun. We have a great host, extremely relevant content for you guys. But it's nice also to have different offerings, because not everyone wants to chat or necessarily wants to be seen either. So we make it available to everyone to actually participate, and then the level is really up to each player.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I think we had a good conversation today. I certainly learned a lot. I hope the folks in the attendance have learned quite a lot as well. Appreciate everyone joining us on the panel. Thank you so much. I know your time is very valuable, but I think it was very valuable for the attendees to learn and listen. So until next year, appreciate your time, and definitely see you at in the Kabeza game at 4 p.m.
Thanks, Ed. Thanks, Ali.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed, Ali.